Yeah, maybe everyone wants to pursue this. If so, then please do take one of three actions. So firstly, please fill in the questionnaire. It's invaluable to us and it will allow you to give us your information, give us your email address, so we can be in touch. Secondly, many Giving What We Can members will be going to the MITRE immediately after this talk, and you can talk to people one-on-one. Simply, if you want to contact us, we're very happy to meet up over coffee and talk about some of these ideas. And then thirdly, there's going to be a follow-up meeting. I'm going to have to ask Holly when and where that is. Okay, on Wednesday at 1, and we'll find out more detail about the event, if you like, and your email address on the questionnaire. And there's a variety of events that we hold throughout the year. So you can come to that as well and find out a lot more. So let's take some questions. Yeah, we have a couple of roaming microphones.
Thank you both of you for your talk. I have two questions about effectiveness. The first question is, when you say that you are helping the firm or you are sending them money, do you actually try to help them by addressing their dignity and integrity, by helping them to help themselves, not just trying to be their savior? I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that, but I believe that I don't know what particular country you have in the third world. They have many countries in the third world, but they have also some kind of intelligence, some resources, and maybe you can help them to help themselves, and so we're trying to send them money. And my other question is also, if we speak about the economy of the West, whether or not the same integrity and dignity is addressed in the economy of the West, and if it is so, whether or not the economy of the West has influence on the global economy, and if it's so again, is it because that we actually don't deal with the human person at the center of the economy that we have all this problem? But I have to thank you that I also have to thank you that you're trying to do something, and which is good. But how effective it is in the long term? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's a lot of material there. So with regard to questions about dignity and helping people to help themselves, one thing is that actually improving people's health to some extent sounds like just a direct helping, but it does also help them help themselves. If people's health is very bad, then it's quite difficult to help themselves. Also, educational interventions are a big example of helping to help themselves, and it turns out that the example I gave about treating neglected tropical diseases turns out to be one of the best educational interventions that we know of, as well as one of the best health interventions. Because if you look at how many, for every $3.60 that you donate, it actually can lead to an extra year of school attendance if the money is used on deworming medications to get rid of these intestinal worms, because a lot of people are taking time off school because of this. So people use randomized control trials to find that out, which is really interesting. Also, it's a case actually where there's quite a lot of attentiveness to these issues about dignity and not making things as handouts or having people come along from Western countries as some kind of saviors in these areas. So what happens is that the groups who do this work with the Ministry of Education in these countries, and they actually get local people there to train the teachers in the schools in order to treat the children in the same way as we might have tetanus inoculations here. The money there might not be just about teachers, but it's a drug treatment that's done through the schools, and the teachers do it, and happens through people who are already valued in the community, and so it's a really nice setup in that regard. And you do have to take things like that into account as well. I agree with that, and that's the important issue. Although obviously we should also take into account being able to help thousands of people, that's tens of people. That's another thing we should take into account. As to the questions about the economics, I didn't quite catch all of it, but I do think that there are a lot of serious problems with the economic system that we use, and we often don't notice all of these problems. But I can give talks about ethics and economics. It's one of my special subjects. And there are particularly a lot of problems with trade laws. And so I think that some campaigns like fair trade and also other approaches to try to get rid of things like agricultural subsidies in Europe are really important for helping that. And the approach that we use is particularly kind of individualistic approach to economics. It's one that puts the individual first in some sense, but it really doesn't quite do that the right way. So it does it in the wrong way, is what I think. More than not trying to do it wrong.
Thank you. I have two short questions. First, I guess both of you. Based on the arguments that we've been going through, is there not also a moral responsibility to persuade people not to give to charities that just work in Europe or in the affluent parts of the world? Second is, mainly addressed to Peter, your point about government aid going to governments in poor countries. I mean, what do you make of the arguments that economists like Toby who argue that governments as rational actors actually are disincentivized by aid to help their own populations because in that sense they receive less for aid for improvements that they've shown? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, the second question, which was specifically addressed to me, I've focused on what I was talking about mostly on NGO aid, and I think it's unfortunate that Lisa Moyo's book, which got quite a lot of publicity, people assume that it's talking about aid in general as not being that effective, but if you actually read the book, somewhere about page 7, there's a sentence or two that says, I'm not writing about NGO aid. So that's one thing to remember. As far as government aid is concerned, I think she's also really a little too sweeping in her condemnation of government aid. That's not to say that government aid can't be badly done, and sometimes it is badly done. It depends on the government, it depends on how they're doing it. But I think a lot of government aid is still beneficial on the whole, even if it sometimes maybe does have some negative effects. But there are some governments that you wouldn't want to give money to. It's possible that it will be not used for what you want to give it to, or that since you've given the government money for health, they'll take what they would have given for health and spend it on weapons or something of that sort. There are certainly those sorts of problems, but I think we're getting smarter and wiser about this, and the governments with the better aid programs are, I think, able to do more to see that aid is effective and is not having those effects. I know you asked us both about whether we should dissuade people from giving to Europe. I guess my answer to that would be, it depends on whether by dissuading them to give to charities that work in Europe, you will be persuading them to take the same resources and give it to those charities, which, as Toby suggested, are going to use the money more effectively. If so, I think I would say yes, given that the need is greater there. But if there may be some people who say, look, I'm going to give to those people close to me, I see the homeless in Oxford and I'm going to help them. If you say I shouldn't do that, they're just not going to do anything with it. So, charities that work locally definitely do some good. So I wouldn't want to reduce their funds unless it was going somewhere where it's going to do more.
Hi, this is for either of you. What would you say to someone who says, Dr. Orb, you said if you lived in the United States, you would be making a lot more money doing the same thing. What do you say to somebody who says, well, then don't give them moral responsibility to seek out a job or profession that you would make more money and then donate